this is my video on how you can ace your DSA process so that you can get into the school of your choice this year. Wow! So before we start, what is DSA? So DSA stands for the Direct School Admissions Process, which is an alternative process that you can consider using to get into a school and secure your place in a school, a secondary school or a junior college, before you take your national examinations, which is your PSLE or your O-levels. This process is still academics focused, but it also focuses a lot more on your different strengths and aptitudes and your talents in different domains such as sports, the arts, leadership, and a ton of other different domains. So when you do get a place through DSA, it means that there's a space in the school of your choice that is reserved for you, and therefore the academic cutoff points is much lower for your individual self. So you have a safety net going into your national examinations. I did go through the DSA process very intimately, both for secondary school and for JC. In that process, I went through like the admissions process for a ton of different schools, and it's all very similar, but different schools do it differently in their own way too. So there's lots of nuances, and there are lots of information that I hope to share with you guys that hopefully will help you guys when you do your own admissions processes. Hi, it's Editing Lorelai here. I realized I forgot to mention what exactly that experience was. So back in 2018, when I was P6, I DSA'd into 3 schools: Temasek Secondary through leadership, St. Anthony's Conversion Secondary School through tennis, and Nian Secondary School through art. And I got into Temasek and SACSS. Whereas in 2022, I applied to quite a few schools through tennis, and in the end I got into Catholic Junior College, CJC, Hwa Chong Institution, and Raffles Institution. So before I give you my tips and tricks on the process, I need to tell you what exactly the structure of the DSA application process is like. There are 3 things that encapsulate the entire structure, and these 3 things in order is: number 1, your application. Usually is an online application. So this is an application where you share your personal particulars, your basic information regarding your school, your DSA domain, and where you share a personal statement regarding something personal. It could be why you want to get into that school of your choice that you are applying to. It could be why you like the DSA domain that you applied for. It could be tell us a bit about yourself, something very, very personal to you. So that's the first one. The second one is your DSA trial. So in this trial, basically they will assess your ability in your DSA domain. Like for example, if it's a sport, they will see all the different strokes that you have, what's your physical fitness like, how well do you work in a group, that kind of thing. If you're applying for an art domain, they could put you through a simple art test to test your ability in drawing and painting, 3D modeling, that kind of thing. Basically, it just tests your abilities for them to gauge what kind of level you have. The third one is your interview. So in this interview, obviously they're going to want to know you better outside of what's on the paper and what they've seen from you in your trial. So they're gonna ask you personal questions like, tell me about yourself, and why do you like the sport. So how you can ace your DSA application process. So let's go part by part of this, okay? So for your application, right, which is your online application, you're supposed to send in your personal particulars, first of all, and other relevant information that they need as a school, such as your academic record, um, information regarding your domain. So this could be like number one, achievements, which is competitions you've won. For example, if it's a sport, what is your national sport ranking? And relevant training courses or preparation or some kind of examination that you've taken in accordance with this DSA domain. So what are relevant camps that you've gone to? Have you gone to any specifically famous ones, such as, if for example I'm a tennis girly, so have you gone to maybe Rafa Nadal Academy to train for a bit, for example? Number three, they will also ask you about other things, such as your leadership roles and your volunteer work, if you have any, which are also important because they also show your values as a student. It helps get in a plus point in there. Usually at the very end of the application, you will have a fourth thing, which is your personal statement. So this personal statement, different schools have different personal statements, so it can be very open. So it can be something like, why did you choose this school to apply to? Or it could be something like, why do you like, for example, you're applying for tennis, right? Why do you like tennis? It can be very open. It's up to the different schools what they want to set. You're supposed to write like a 200 word, 300 word response to that question. And in that 200 word and 300 word response, try to sell yourself as much as possible. So yeah, those are the four things that usually make up an application, and here's how you can ace this. My tips for you would be to be overall presentable. And what I mean by this is that you need to have proper punctuation. Go in a chronological order, or put your most impressive achievements first. So that's the ones they will be able to look up first, and they'll be like, wow, you did that? That's so great. Be presentable, please. Thank you. My second tip for this portion of your application would be to provide concrete evidence of your achievements. What I mean by this is to provide any relevant certificates, any relevant pictures of trophies that you've won. Just provide concrete evidence that you've actually achieved what you have achieved. It also gives you a lot more credibility if you add these in your application. Number three, if you can, do get recommendation letters from your teachers, your coaches, or your instructors. They'll be able to list a lot of your experiences and how you are like during training, and what your behavior is like, and what your personal values are from an outside perspective. So it adds definitely more credibility to your resume. And my last tip for this is for your personal statement. So my advice for your personal statement is to, if it's about your DSA domain, try to form a narrative to try to highlight your strengths as much as possible. And what I mean by this is that you form a storyline, and in that storyline, try to fit as many of the things you've done into that storyline, and try to make those things as specific as possible, like name drop if you can. The more famous, the better. Obviously, we love names. We are a paper-based society, so we love names. So try to do that, so that not only are you citing your specific reasons why you're interested in your domain, but at the same time you're also highlighting your strengths and through your experience as well. So it makes you stand out, you know? It shows that you have both passion and that you have skill. So try to do that. And if it's about your school, if it's about like the school that you are applying to, try to make it as specific as possible to your school. Yeah. And what I mean by this is that add in details that are very specific to the school and why therefore you want to apply to that school and why you want to get in. Moving on, we will move on to the trial segment. So I would say that for the trial and the interview process, your trial is 65% important. It's like the biggest, most important part of your application process. Why? Because this is the time where you actually get to physically interact with the school's teachers and the school's instructors and coaches and the school's team. So they're really gonna see from this trial and from the skills that you show to them whether you're gonna be fit for this school or not. So this is the time you need to perform, okay? For this trial, you're actually going to need 3 different tiers of preparation, and that is before, which is the long term before, your short term before, and during the actual trial. So your long term before the trial is basically the culmination of your entire preparation process with regard to this DSA domain. So if, let's say, it's art, I'm going to say your long-term preparation is basically your entire passion for art. Since you were like super young and you've always been drawing in your sketchbook, it's your passion to this skill and your passion to this particular hobby. And that one is something that you can't really control. It's more of what you've already done within your entire life's worth. But what you can control is your short-term, long-term preparation. And what I mean by this is more of like the months leading up to your trial. During this time, basically, I suggest for you, of course, to try to brush up on your skills as much as possible, as much as you can. But not only that, you should definitely rest well, eat well, sleep well, take care of your physical body as well. If you need to, you know, like right before your DSA trial, if you're doing a sport, like warm up. If you need to stretch, like I remember one time I had like an 8 a.m. trial, and it was for tennis, girl. So I was waking up and I was like, ooh, I do not feel like doing this, but you gotta be ready. So you wake up, you stretch, you do your warm up, you know. Try to put your mind and body in a state where you're ready and you can go into this thing 100% prepared. Maybe not 100%, maybe 95% prepared, and you can do your best, you know? Yeah. For during the actual trial, my advice to you would be, don't be paise is my number 1 biggest tip to you. Don't be paise. Like, you need to go all out. You need to go not even 100%, girl. I'm talking about like 150%. Like, you need to go all out. And don't be scared. Just show what you got. And show them that, hey, I'm here. And I'm good for you, bro. Choose me, you know? So really go all out on your skills and don't be afraid to show any of your talents at all. Go full out. Other than that, try to have a more outgoing, happy, friendly, bubbly personality, because the teachers and team are gonna be there. Okay? They're watching you, they're looking at you. And if you're gonna be a sad looking, tired ass Wednesday for the entire time you're there, you're not going to particularly stand out to them, you know? So try to be friendly, interact with the teachers if you can, interact with the teammates if you can. Yeah, try to be as outgoing as possible so that you stand out just a little bit more. You know, they're also trying to see your capacity for teamwork in this trial, other than your skills. So try. At last, have fun and make friends with the other competitors there. Like real. This may be a competition where you guys are competing to go into this school, but at the same time, you guys have the same passion for the thing that you are applying for, you know? And it's always great to network and find other people with similar interests and, you know, have fun. Enjoy the process and enjoy it together with them. So lastly is bum 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 bum. It's your interview. It's your interview. It's pretty important because what this interview does for you is that it seals the deal. Like your trial, I would say, is the most important because obviously they're looking for people who are good at what they do. But this interview is going to seal the deal for you because what it does is that it shows who you are outside of just the DSA domain that you applied for and outside of your academics and everything that's on paper. And it shows like your personal values, what exactly was your life story, how did you get to who you have become today. If you can do this well, it will really, really help you seal the deal. So you gotta really prepare for this interview. It's very important for you. My advice for this one is to prepare for your interview like it's an exam. I'm telling you to go look up potential questions and rehearse the answers that you would say in your head like 1,000,000 times before you go in. Because once you go into your interview, they're gonna ask you a few set questions for sure. But other than that, it's gonna be free flow and it's gonna be based on the responses that you give. So for those few set questions, you can prepare what you wanna say to be able to put yourself in as good as a light as possible. So basically sell yourself so that, you know, the school would, of course, want you in their school. So how exactly can you do this? There are two main types of questions that you will receive in this interview. And that is regarding your school choice, your DSA domain, and your personal values. So your school choices would be why did you choose the school, and you know what subject combination or stream do you want to be in for JC. That one's more relevant for JC, by the way. Oh, regarding academics, by the way, side thought, but so for JC you need specifically L1 R5 of 20 to get in, right? So I would say you're in the safe zone ish to apply for JC. Like they won't ask you about your academics as much if you have an L1 R5 of like 15 and under. Like that one is you're in the academic safe zone and they basically do not care about your academics anymore. If you're in the L1 R5 zone of 16 and above, well 16 to like 20 is okay. I think they're gonna ask you about it a little bit, but not so much. If it's more than 20, they're gonna be like, it's gonna be in their head. They're gonna definitely consider that, and they might not consider you as much because academically they might not think that you'll be able to cope as much. So what you need to do if you're in that 16 to 20 or 20 and above zone is try in your interview as much as possible to convince them that you're definitely going to get that L1R5 of less than 20, and that you're going to work hard for it. You're going to prepare. You're going to do so much to improve your grade before O levels. And I know you can. You definitely will. You got this, bro. I know you will. But you gotta do that extra job of kind of convincing them a little bit, because yeah, schools are just trying to be safe when they choose people to secure a spot in their school for. And secondly, your DSA domain, regarding how passionate are you regarding your DSA domain, and how skilled are you on your DSA domain. They won't ask this as much, actually, I find, but they will still ask you about it, definitely. And number 3 is your personal values. This one, they will ask a lot. So this can be your what exactly is your life's goal, what's your life mission, what are the values that you personally connect with, your student leadership, definitely, they will ask you about that. So some extra tips I have regarding this is that you gotta be familiar with, for JC applicants, you gotta be familiar with the A-level system and the specific subject combination or stream that you want. Like, it doesn't have to be concrete, just have an idea of what you want, because a lot of schools ask me about this, actually, so have an idea. Yeah, it's good. And another tip I have is to research the school and their values, and if you can somehow naturally cite in the school values and how it relates to you in your interview, I tell you, your chances of going into that school will be so high. For example, what I did when I went to Huachong. One of their school values was 自强不息, which is basically a phrase in Chinese which means unyielding in your journey to try to improve yourself as much as possible. So I took that and I weaved it into my interview, and I was like, what was my response to the question, like, why do you want to be a part of this school? This particular value, this particular phrase touched me a lot because it relates to my own personal journey in tennis, because I think I've worked very hard in my sport. I was very late in my sport, but I managed to catch up in a short amount of time through a lot of consistent effort and a lot of hard work. So I feel like I am a very hardworking person, and I really wanted to be part of an environment where that was a part of the school's culture. My other piece of advice is to be familiar with your skills and your strengths. Like, really dig in deep, and try to pluck out all the strengths and skills you think that you have. Don't be afraid to talk about them in this interview. Like, you're in a bit of a weird position because you're supposed to talk good about yourself, and that's not something that a lot of us are naturally inclined to do so. But just don't feel paise. In this interview, it's kind of your job as much as possible to try to put yourself in a good light. So don't be afraid to talk about your skills and your strengths, and don't be afraid to drop them at every road that you go. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. As long as it's truthful, okay? Don't lie. Never ever lie. Never. Hi, Editing Lorelai strikes again. So one tip that is really important that I forgot to mention is to have very good body language. And what I mean by this is to have a straight posture, roll your shoulders back, smile, and make eye contact with whoever's interviewing you. And this will really help them to get a good first impression of you, and that'll help a lot in them considering you for the DSA. So yeah, that's basically my tips and tricks and advice on how you can ace your DSA process. I really hope some of this has helped you. My final words to you would be, you got this. I mean, I know that the person watching this is a very talented, very awesome, very kind, very amazing human. If the schools don't realize that, it's their loss. And if they do, and you get accepted into a school of your choice, congratulations! That's a huge bonus to you. But just go into this with the mindset that, of course, be serious. Of course, take it seriously. I mean, this is a very good chance for you to get into a school of your choice. But at the end of the day, there's many different paths to life. And if this doesn't work out, there are many other roads that you can take as well. And if this does work out for you, then congratulations. That's amazing. You've reached another goal for yourself. Just have fun throughout the process. Really. This was a lot of fun for me, and I hope you will have a lot of fun in this process too. Okay, so that's it from me. I wish you all the best for your DSA applications, and I'm very, very sure you'll get in. You got this. Jaya!